The first thing Ethan noticed when he walked into the house was how carefully everyone spoke around him, not hostile, not cold exactly, just edited. His mother hugged him too quickly before turning back toward the dining room where wedding decorations covered every surface. Claire's fiancé, Daniel, shook his hand like they were coworkers at a conference. Even Claire seemed distracted, moving from room to room with lists in her hand and tension in her shoulders. The house smelled like ribbon packaging, takeout food, and stress. Ethan had not lived nearby in years. Chicago had become his life now. Small apartment, accounting job, long train rides, routines nobody interrupted. Back home in Ohio, he had become a visitor people explained things to. "You still in that apartment?" his father asked during dinner. "It's fine," Ethan said. His father nodded in the vague way people do when they already disapprove, but don't want the conversation. Later that night, Ethan stood alone in the upstairs hallway looking at old family photos. Claire came up behind him, carrying a velvet ring box. "You know, Mom made me keep it here instead of the hotel safe," she said, "because apparently houses are safer." She laughed tiredly and disappeared into her old bedroom. By morning, the ring was gone. The house changed instantly, not loudly at first, quietly, cabinets opening too hard. Footsteps overhead, Claire crying behind a locked bathroom door, Daniel searching couch cushions with growing irritation. Ethan helped look for almost an hour before he began noticing the pauses, his mother stopping conversations when he entered rooms, his father watching him too long. Daniel asking whether Ethan had gone upstairs again after everyone went to bed. Then came the moment that settled everything. Ethan walked into the guest room and found his suitcase unzipped on the bed. His clothes had been unfolded carefully, almost politely. His mother stood beside it, frozen with one of his shoes in her hand. Neither of them spoke for several seconds. "I was just checking everywhere," she said finally. Ethan looked at the suitcase, then at her. "Right. Downstairs." Claire sat at the kitchen table with mascara smeared under her eyes. When Ethan approached, she looked exhausted more than angry. "If you needed money," she said quietly, "you could just ask." The sentence landed harder than shouting would have, because it meant she already believed it. Ethan felt something inside himself detach, not dramatically, not all at once, more like a rope slowly snapping strand by strand. "I didn't take your ring." Claire rubbed her forehead. "Then where is it?" Nobody answered. That afternoon his father drove him to a motel off the highway. No fight. No accusation spoken directly, just his father gripping the steering wheel too tightly. "Maybe this is best until things calm down." Ethan stared out the window the whole drive. 2 days later, while he was back at work in Chicago, a police officer arrived at the office lobby asking to speak with him regarding a theft report connected to insured jewelry. His manager saw, two coworkers saw. Nothing came from it officially, but afterward conversations changed around him. People became professionally kind, which was worse. Years passed the way damaged relationships often do, not with explosions but with administrative distance. Birthday texts, condolence calls when an uncle died, photos of Claire's children sent without commentary. Ethan built a stable life because stability required less trust. He got promoted, bought better furniture, learned how to keep conversations shallow enough that nobody could disappoint him unexpectedly. He stopped telling people he had a sister. Then 3 years later, Claire called. He almost ignored it. Her voice sounded unfamiliar when he answered. Smaller somehow. "They found it," she said. Ethan said nothing. "The ring." A long pause filled the line. Claire explained that contractors renovating their parents' house had removed an old radiator cover near the upstairs hallway. The ring had slipped through a narrow gap beside the vent and settled inside the wall. No theft, no hiding place, just gravity. Ethan leaned back slowly in his chair at work while employees moved past his office door. Claire began crying softly. "We were wrong." He waited for anger to arrive. He had imagined this moment before, late at night sometimes, during long train rides and grocery store lines. In those fantasies, someone apologized and he finally released years of bitterness onto them like floodwater. But listening to Claire cry, he mostly felt tired. "I know," he said. She inhaled sharply, as if the absence of rage hurt more than rage itself would have. Their mother tried calling later. Then their father. Ethan let both go to voicemail. Weeks afterward, an old supervisor from his Chicago office contacted him unexpectedly. The company had been cleaning archived personnel records and found notes about the police inquiry years earlier. The supervisor admitted he had once questioned Ethan's honesty because of it. "I shouldn't have," he said. A month later, that same supervisor wrote Ethan a recommendation letter for a senior financial position in Minneapolis. The irony sat quietly in Ethan's chest. Strangers corrected themselves more fully than family ever could. Near Thanksgiving, Claire called again. "You could come this year," she said carefully. "Not you should, not we miss you, just you could." Ethan looked around his apartment. The silence no longer felt lonely there. It felt built. "I'll try," he said, but after hanging up, he already knew he probably wouldn't. A few days later, a padded envelope arrived in the mail. Claire had accidentally included the recovered ring while sending old family paperwork their mother wanted him to have. Ethan sat at the kitchen table, turning the ring between his fingers. 3 years ago, this tiny object had outweighed him completely. He placed it back into a smaller envelope and addressed it to Claire. No letter inside, nothing left to explain.